Well, in an attempt to establish the United States as the crypto capital of the world, the Trump administration has initiated sweeping regulatory changes that have been widely cheered by those in the digital assets industry, in spite of the legitimate concerns by many in the traditional financial services sector. As we head to Washington, D.C. this week to participate in regulatory roundtables, Rubicon Digital Assets CEO and NYU professor Greg Johnson is joining us to break down some of the big headlines in the crypto world. Greg, always good to see you. So can you tell us more about the Security Exchange Commission's new crypto task force, and what does this mean for all of those who are investing?
Well, Jonathan, it's always good to be with you, and it's never slowing down so far here in 2025. Look, the SEC's crypto task force is symbolic, and it's symbolic of the sweeping changes you just alluded to that have come for the digital assets industry since the Trump administration took over back in January. And what that means is many things. First of all, clarity for many people who are on the sidelines waiting and looking to invest. Just over the past couple of weeks, we've actually heard clarification from the SEC about whether or not so-called meme coins. Now, you and I have done segments before talking about the Melania coin and the Trump coin, and these are so-called meme coins. And there was considerable debate about whether or not these were actually securities and should be regulated similar to stocks or other funds and investments of that nature. The SEC, controversially, I might say to many, has come down and said, no, these are not securities. So this task force is comprised of some of the brightest minds from across the SEC and adjacent industries trying to look at crypto through a new lens under Trump. I'll tell you what else it means is that one of the kind of quiet big businesses here in the state of Georgia is actually the crypto mining industry. Many folks would be surprised to see how much crypto mining accounts for some of the GDP here for the state of Georgia. Well, also under the heavy axe of the SEC was possibly crypto miners being subject to very, very heavy regulation. That has now been suspended under this task force and in this new administration.
Well, Greg, I want to switch gears and talk about something that could be perhaps more appropriate for an 11 Alive weather forecast. But I want you to explain the major policy reversal by the U.S. Treasury Department concerning the lifting of sanctions on a tornado cash.
Well, this is concerning to many people, and I'll try and do my best on a very, very complicated subject. But within the crypto world, there are products known as crypto mixers. It kind of sounds like is exactly what it sounds, Jonathan. In other words, people have legitimate reasons for wanting to have anonymity, just like a lot of people still like to use cash in this country. They don't want all their small transactions to be tracked. They don't want everybody kind of looking over their shoulder with every transaction that they make. Well, the kind of cash equivalent, if you will, in the crypto world is a crypto mixer. And essentially what this technology does is it's able to mask by putting all the crypto in through a giant tech mixer using a computer and software and so forth to basically have the transaction come out the other end without knowing where it started. Obviously, this is the perfect type of tool if you're a criminally minded individual or organization. And indeed, this Tornado Cash company, which received significant sanctions by the Treasury administration under Biden, which many people were in favor of, given how much money has found its way, stolen crypto, found its way through these mixers from the North Korean bad actors. There was a lot of concern about these mixers. In another sign of sweeping reversals under the Trump administration, the new Secretary of Treasury has already overturned these sanctions, and it's caused a lot of debate in the industry. Now, by the way, can you imagine, for example, in the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war, many people who didn't want to be identified for fear of Russian apprisals were using these mixers to send funds so that they wouldn't be found out who they were coming from. So there are good uses. It's the old machete. It can be used as a tool. It can be used to hurt people. You get the idea. But it is a pretty surprising turnabout given how much ill-gotten funds have gone through mixers.
Absolutely. Also in the crypto news right now is a new scam out there called pig butchering. I know this is highly sophisticated. It's a scam out there, but how should our audience know? What should they know about protecting themselves?
They should know a lot about this, Jonathan, and I'm sad to say that it's basically taking modern technology, cryptocurrencies, and a tale as old as time. How do bad people exploit good people out of their hard-earned savings and, in many cases, life savings? And essentially, it often starts with those rando text messages we get without knowing who it is. It's not in our contact list. Hey, how are you doing? We respond, we get into a dialogue. And for many people that are either isolated, especially during COVID, when we saw this really start to arise, people start engaging in conversations. They become more, shall we say, romantically inclined. And before you know it, somebody is showing how much money they made in crypto. The victim says, well, boy, I'd like a piece of that. They share fake screenshots. They're directed to fake websites and so forth. And before you know it, life savings are transferred. And if you may think that this may not happen to you, the most highly publicized one so far that many people might have actually heard about involves Brad Pitt, of all people. Yes, the actor Brad Pitt. A French woman was duped into thinking that she was actually communicating with Brad Pitt, who was being captured in a hospital. I kid you not. Now, this was very sophisticated. It used AI imaging, something we're going to have to get very used to. We haven't heard the last of this. But at the end of the day, she actually transferred over $850,000 because she was being told by Brad that he couldn't access his fortune to pay his medical bills, and could she please help? And this French widower literally transferred over $850,000 of US dollars to do this. This is a widespread and growing threat. It's one of the biggest concerns, and sad to say, many loved ones in this viewing audience are going to be impacted or be approached by some of these bad actors.
Greg Johnson, our Atlanta-based source for all things crypto. We always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.